Hey everybody, it's Bruce from Nature Calls, and I'm sitting under the Hilleberg Tarp 5. It's their smallest, lightest tarp that they make. It's 11.3 ounces, and they use the Kerlon 1000, their lightest fabric. But being the Kerlon 1000, it's extremely tough. Now, I've done a lot with tarps over the last few years, and I've actually even made my own through hiker tarp, which looks very similar to this, but it's nowhere near the strength that this tarp is. So it comes with the tarp, the guylines, and the little parts of the guylines like the locks and the rings, but you have to provide your own stakes and your own trekking poles. But it's just a beautiful little tarp, and you can use it for, say, building an awning on another tent. They're totally useful, and they're about the size of an orange when they're all packed in. Now, last fall I did a video on the Hilleberg Tarp 5, and it turned out that that tarp had some test materials on it, or test things with the guy lines, and so I had to pull it down. So this is exactly how you get it from Hilleberg. I think they went for the much stronger parts on this one than they did on the other one, so I'm real happy with it. I did take it out in the rain in the fall on a backpacking trip, and I'll insert some of that footage as well. But if you're looking for like the ultralight strongest setup, go for one of these Hilleberg Tarp 10s to get yourself like a little mesh tent to put on the inside, or something to keep the bugs away. But it's really fantastic. So let's go take a look at some of the other configurations that I played around with. If we look at the Tarp 5, it's not a rectangular tarp. It's a kind of like a kite shape. It has a front and a back and kind of some wings going out to the side. Let's take a look how long it is. So it's roughly, that's 122 inches roughly, so a little over 10 feet from front to back. And at the widest point, it's about 7 feet. It's actually 87 inches. And the very back portion is 57 inches, or 4 feet 9. You see in this wing here, let's go ahead and get all the measurements. All kind of rough. It's about 7 feet, 85 inches. That's roughly almost 5 feet, so 58 inches. So it's more of like a kite shape, but that's what these through hiker tarps are like. Okay, let's go ahead and set it up in the standard through hiker tarp mode. So what I'll do when I set up like a through hiker tarp, until I really learn it and get it nailed down, I just put my lines at about half stretched out, half on the line lock. Let's put a little loop on the end here. I've done this on all the corners that I'm worried about. Just kind of loosely set them out and tack them down. Didn't pull them taut. And I like to use these lighter, or these longer stakes for where the trekking poles will go. These are the Easton stakes, and they're 10 inches long. And then on the side ones, they don't have to be quite as long. So now we've got everything in, and it's got plenty of slack, but it's also tight enough so I can start doing the setup. When I do my first setup, I usually go with the pole that's going to be at the rear of the tarp. I put that down to a short length. It doesn't mean you have to have it at a short length. And you take the line, loop it over the trekking pole, but it kind of gives that tenty look to it. But you could raise this up as high as you want, so whatever you want, but I usually start off with the trekking pole at its short length at the back. Then we'll go do the bow, or the front. Now, to put a trekking pole into a tarp, a Hilleberg 5, you put it through the ring like that, and you take the guy line, you put it around the trekking pole tip as well. If you have it down here, there's usually just too much tension between the ring and the string. So just bring it on over to the side, and then it can really work nicely. All right, so now I can see that it's already taut, and I'll loosen up this front guy line a little bit, so it's a little bit looser. And we'll put the front pole in, loop it over the top. So now they're the same height. This is where I would do the adjustments of the tarp. I could have done the cam lock on that one. There we go. Now that's a nice low profile, but not too low profile setup. And this is exactly how I did on my Barkley Lake trip. It was very similar to this, about this height. So once you get the tarp set to where you want it, you can just go around and do some quick little adjustment. Get it pretty tight. So this would be like a standard setup. It's kind of stealthy, not taking up a lot of space and not sticking out. Definitely not a big wind catcher or anything like that. Let's go ahead and raise her on up so I can sit up in here. So what I'll do first is loosen up my corner lines. Just those front two corner lines. Now we'll start to raise her on up. Kind of loosen things up as we go. Great. So now I've got it so I can sit up in here. You can keep raising it up to where you like it, but this is probably about as much as I would do for a ground tarp scenario. Now let's say that the weather is getting really bad, so all we have to do is start dropping things down. I'll start with the poles, drop them down. I'll go around and drop everything down. Take that stake, bring it into the ring. That went into the ring. Right, so here's a good rain mode. It's all tacked down on the sides, and there is more tack out points I can put down right in the middle, so if it's a little bit windy. But here you've got an entry on the front and an entry on the back, so you're still getting some nice ventilation, definitely getting rain shed, but it's definitely built for one. Built for one. Let's try another one. So when I was up at Barkley Lake in the other, the green one, I did a slightly different take on it because I needed one side of it tacked down and the other side I wanted open to look at the lake. So let's do that one. It's going to be interesting. This is just a perfect spot for one person. It's just tucked in here. So it's not going to be great to do a ton of configurations, but this tarp is not a big configuration type of tarp. So let's get it out and take a look at it and see what we can come up with. This is actually how I'm going to have it tonight, just because there could be some weather coming in, some rain, so I'm actually going to tack it down even further on the sides. But I'm kind of liking this right now. It's definitely, you know, it's low, but you know, it's the whole ultralight thing. Kind of a prevailing wind coming this way, so I'll probably tack down that side of the tarp. If it was nicer out, you know, I could have it elevated, but we got some gray clouds up there.
Can you hear that? I sure hope I did a good setup because it is raining. So
this is very similar to what I did up at Barkley Lake, I had the weather side or the rain side tacked down, but I left it up high so I could look out all the way around. And this was just wonderful. All right, so that's the Tarp 5. I'm actually kind of glad I got to have it and do another video on it. But it's really, it's super lightweight. It'd be a great addition if you had like another tent and you wanted to, add like an awning or a vestibule. It's super light to do that. You just put this right over your tent, but it's not so big a tarp that you just have a tent with a big tarp over it. Add a nice little awning. I'm starting to see a lot of people do that. This tent would be perfect for that. Okay, we'll hope to see a lot of these out on the trail, and I hope to get this one out on the trail. Bye now.